occurred in the Conover Campus Center where public safety had to respond and left the students shocked.
And new advancements for aiding students and faculty in the case of a medical emergency come to campus. We have the details.
Plus, we will take a look at this past week's weather that had days of heavy precipitation, leaving damage in one university building. STN Channel 2 News starts right now. Thank you for tuning into STN Channel 2 News. I'm Krista Gray.
And I'm Jabari Walker.
On Tuesday, February 9th at 6:30 p.m., a woman from New London had overdosed on heroin in the Conover restroom. STN Channel 2 News Director Matthew Vega went into further details on the incident.
We get a call at 6:38 p.m. of a possible overdose in the bathroom at Conover by the market. So we get there. I'm on the road. I'm over by the sports center. I was with Officer Mealy. We get there. It takes us 2 minutes to get there. Officer Kathy Alabre is inside, and we walk into the bathroom. There's a couple people from the Conover market that found the girl. And we get in there. We see a female. And right away, I know it's bad. She's bent over in half. We see a hypodermic needle in her arm. And then it falls out. It's in her hand.
The woman was unconscious and unresponsive until two of the public safety officers administered oxygen, and at that time, she perked up right away. They then proceeded to call EMS along with the Hartford Police, followed by Hartford Fire.
We look inside the toilet. She had discarded 5 bags of heroin. So I started to try to ask her some questions to see how much she used or what she had done. She said she had used 1.5 bags. I didn't believe that, but because why would you have 5 bags in the toilet if you just had shut up 1.5 bags?
It was then confirmed that the woman was not a University of Hartford student, and she took a cab from New London with another man who was also not a student.
Everything's taped on campus. There's video and surveillance cameras in Conover. We saw her come in. We saw her come in with a male who we identified him. He was with her. Now, he watched the whole thing. He knew she was shooting up in the bathroom. He rendered her no aid. He watched all the activity with the police, the fire, EMS, and public safety at the scene, and then he left campus walking.
With the open campus policies and the heroin incidents that have been happening all over the area, the university would like to ensure that the students remain drug-free.
I sent the email because I want students who aren't using it to be aware of the danger and not use it. And if there are any students that are using, I want to give them resources to say, look, right now, something that you're using could cause you to die, so maybe if you could get some help and not use, that would help you stay alive.
Matthew Vega, STN, Channel 2 News.
For more information on the horrific incident that happened and any other related incidents in the area, visit stn2.tv.
This past Tuesday, University of Hartford held a press conference revealing new equipment for public safety that can save lives here on campus. STN reporter Jorge Rosas has more on the story.
Public safety is now in possession of new medical kits that are designed to stop heavy bleeding. The idea being that if you can stop the bleeding, you can transport victims to the hospital in a timely fashion.
It's just it's an all-inclusive tourniquet kit that we were donated through the regents on campus, and it includes a tourniquet kit, a quick clot gauze, another tourniquet gauze that you can use as a second tourniquet if you need it, a pair of gloves, a marker to mark the time that you put a tourniquet on. So it's an all-inclusive kit that should you ever need an incident in an incident like that you have everything you need.
During the press conference, there was talk of having individuals other than public safety trained to use the kits in case of an emergency.
I'd like to encourage some others to become trained as well. It's one thing for the security folks to be trained, but if you have an active shooter running around campus, they're going to be worried about that too. And so you're going to need some other folks who know how to use these kits and be able to help victims.
With the unsettling amount of school shootings across the nation, it's reassuring to see the university take the necessary steps to ensure the safety of students and faculty. Jorge Rosas, STN, Channel 2 News.
To find out more on the press conference and the new bleeding kits, you can visit our website at www.stn2.tv.
The Alpha Chi Honor Society on campus is holding their annual book drive to collect children and young adult books for Annie Fisher Elementary School and the University High School of Science and Engineering. They collected 500 books last year and hope to beat that record this year. There are collection boxes in the library where books can be dropped at any time, and the Society will also have a table at Commons on Tuesday, February 23rd, and at both Commons and GSU on Thursday, February 25th, to collect books. The book drive will be gone from Monday, February 21st until Friday, March 4th.
The beginning of this past week was a mix of precipitation. Monday night into Tuesday was cold and snow fell, leaving the Hartford area with 6 inches of snow. Then on Tuesday, the weather was the polar opposite with warm temperatures and pouring rain. The warm weather combined with the rain and heavy snow resulted in some problem in the Jingers Union. The roof of GSU started to leak onto the 3rd floor, and facilities put trash cans under the mist and sill and tiles to collect water. The trash cans are still on the 3rd floor in case of any more flooding. Well, Chris, let's turn it over to Jake at the weather desk. Jake?
Thanks, guys. The weather has been very chilly for the past few weeks. Will it stay like this, or will the forecast predicting warmer temperatures? I'll have your forecast and more details next.
The cold weather came and went, but during its short time, temps went below zero. One police department and one Connecticut town stepped into action to help its people stay warm. We have the details.
And a local inventor came to campus and held an event to give advice and business tips to students about creating startups.
Also, the Hart School will be putting on a new production this weekend focused on Greek myths. We'll have all that and more when we come back. Stay tuned to 2.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Most party fouls? Not a big deal. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
And now, your STN2 weather forecast.
Hello, welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm Jake Nemeth. For the past few weeks, students at Hartford have been bundling up in their gloves and winter hats to stay warm from the cold. After what was a record-setting, warmest winter on record, sorry about that, Mother Nature has finally caught up to us. Let's see if this week will be any warmer or if we still have to be bundling up later in the week. As you can see, students on Hartford are still wearing their sweatshirts and dressing up all warm. So let's look at the Friday lows to see how it'll be tonight. As you can see, at the University of Hartford, it's going to be chilly tonight at 30 degrees. If you're going out, definitely I would recommend wearing a jacket, winter gloves, a hat. Definitely try to stay warm. It's going to be pretty chilly. Tomorrow's highs is going to get a lot warmer. It's going to be 50 degrees. That's pretty good for February. So like if you want, wear shorts. I don't recommend it, but it's 50 degrees in February. Don't take that for granted. It's pretty awesome. For Sunday's high, it's going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be 49 degrees. The surrounding area, it's pretty consistent, upper 40, lower 50s. So it's going to be still really consistent when it comes to the weather. Very warm for February. For this week, it's going to start off 37 degrees, pretty cold, but later in the week, it's going to progress into warmer, and then it's going to go consistently in the 40s. Possible rain on Wednesday, but it's going to be pretty good weather for this week.
Well, Jake, the weather this past weekend has no comparison to the weather this weekend. Definitely warmer.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon we can start wearing our shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Jake.
Thank you.
Following this past frigid week, police in Hartford worked to make sure that no one spent the night outside. They canvassed the whole city and found 8 homeless people that night and took them to the warming centers or friends' homes. One of the homeless found was a 64-year-old man named Eugene who was reluctant to leave his spot. But after a lot of convincing, officers managed to persuade him and took him inside and out of the cold.
And over the same weekend, the 7th annual Freezin' for a Reason charity took place in Colchester. The Colchester police officers slept in tents in the town's green to raise money for the Colchester Fuel Bank and helps the less fortunate heat their homes. The men who camped out in the brutal cold had a large supply of wood to keep their fire burning. One officer said, quote, "It's a small thing to do to help other people," end quote. At the end of the event, they managed to raise $15,000 for the charity.
Local inventor and entrepreneur Eric Knight came to the aid of all those in need of business tips this past Tuesday. STN went to find out more. Eric Knight visited the University of Hartford with hopes of giving useful advice to aspiring business owners.
Now is a wonderful time to be an entrepreneur and creating a startup. There are just so many tools that are available, and many times for free. Whether you're promoting something, you have things like free media, like YouTube. You have 3D printers that make it easy to prototype. There's so many resources now that are available.
With these available resources, Knight encourages all students, whether you're in middle school, high school, or college, that there are no restrictions when it comes to inventing.
For instance, somebody says, "I'm an inventor, and do you think outside the box?" Well, I don't even know what the box looks like. I do not have any parameters or constraints.
There are many resources out there that Eric Knight has mentioned to help people start a business the right way.
Talked about a book called The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, which is essentially the current kind of the industry Bible for developing a business. It basically says the old way of doing things, of creating a product and then manufacturing it, rolling out in the marketplace and seeing if it works, that's dead. Doesn't happen anymore.
If you would like to contact Eric Knight about more tips on business and entrepreneurship, go to remarkabletechnologies.com.
This weekend, the Hart School will be putting on a production of the play Metamorphoses, written by Mary Zimmerman. STN went to find out more.
Metamorphoses is a collection of modernized Greek myths.
The play includes a wide variety of Greek myths, including the tale of King Midas and Orpheus in the underworld.
Well, I really think the show is about love and the effect that love has on the human spirit and the effect that love has on 2 hearts and 2 bodies.
Metamorphoses helps people to figure out what their idea of love is and their purpose, while challenging the actors to really form a connection with the audience.
The actors do so many different things with their bodies, with their voices, with the props that they handle. It's like theater magic taken to a whole new level with this production.
This show is an experimental piece of theater, pushing the actors to the very edges of their comfort zones.
I'm doing things that I have never done before in this show. I'm playing guitar and speaking at the same time, which is very, very difficult and a lot different from singing and playing the guitar at the same time.
The philosophical meanings behind the show get people to expand their brains and think about the greater meaning of life.
One of my favorite quotes in the show is, "Our soul wanders in the dark until it finds love. And so wherever we find love, there we find our soul."
The show will be performed on February 19th and 20th at 7:30 p.m. and February 21st at 3 p.m. at the Handel Performing Arts Center. Tickets are free for students and $20 for the general public.
We say, it's going to take a little while to get to know 38 students. So I tell them, trust me enough to get on the
students' annual trip will take place over the spring break week, starting on March 11 and spanning until March 20th. This year, students will be heading to North Fort Myers, Florida to assist the local Habitat for Humanity organization in the community. Students and faculty who have been on the trip in past years say it's a great way to get involved in the community hit hardest by natural disasters and economic downturn. But it's also a great team building experience to get to know one another.
We say, you know, it's going to take a little while to get to know 38 students. So I tell them, trust me enough to get on the bus. Once you get on the bus on the way down, this trip's going to be about 25 hours. Some schools take flights. They could be there in 4 or 5 hours. But I really believe a lot of that formation of the group happens on the trip down.
Students have already been selected for the trip to Florida. If you are interested in supporting the alternative spring break trip, you can do so by purchasing a ticket to their annual pasta dinner night. The dinner will be held on Thursday, February 25th at 5 p.m. in the GSU Cafe. Tickets are $5 in advance or $7 at the door.
One Connecticut University student was hospitalized with a case of bacterial meningitis. We have the details on what you need to know.
And this Valentine's Day meant a lot to one Bridgeport man as he received the gift of a lifetime and actually saved his life. More on that next.
This past week, the U.S. Supreme Court lost one of its justices. In his honor, flags have been at the half-staff all week across the nation. More details on his legacy are next. Stay tuned.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
You're watching STN Channel 2 News.
Yale student was rushed to the hospital this past week after contacting a possible case of bacterial meningitis. The student was not identified but was brought to Yale New Haven Hospital late Tuesday evening. Health officials say they're not working with the university to identify those who may have been in contact with the student to offer them treatment. 2 years ago, a Hart School student passed away after contracting a case of bacterial meningitis off campus.
The nation is mourning the loss of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Justice Scalia died this past weekend after a hunting trip in Texas. At a time of tragedy for political leaders, the question now remains as to who will fill the remaining seat on the U.S. Supreme Court. Here's Ryan Nobles with the latest.
Justice Antonin Scalia. It did not take long for the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia to get political in the Republican presidential primary debate.
I think it's up to Mitch McConnell and everybody else to stop it. It's called delay, delay, delay.
One by one, the GOP candidates paid homage to the conservative lion and predicted that any Obama nominee to replace him would be unsuccessful.
There's no doubt in my mind that Barack Obama will not have a consensus pick when he submits that person to the Senate.
But President Obama is pushing forward, promising to nominate someone quickly and warning Senate Republicans to not play politics with the court.
There will be plenty of time for me to do so and for the Senate to fulfill its responsibility to give that person a fair hearing and a timely vote. These are responsibilities that I take seriously, as should everyone.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called on the president to wait and leave the decision in the, quote, hands of the voters and the winner of the race for the White House. Rank-and-file Republicans like Lindsey Graham said any Obama nominee will have a tough time being confirmed.
The practical consequence is that no one will be appointed that's not a consensus choice.
And as the president and Senate leaders squabble, it will be against the backdrop of an increasingly divisive presidential election.
Elections have consequences.
Hillary Clinton rushed to support Obama's right to pick the nominee and pushed the Senate to confirm.
It is outrageous that Republicans in the Senate and on the campaign trail have already pledged to block any replacement that President Obama nominates.
The Republican candidates vowed to stand in the way and, once elected, nominate a conservative in the mold of Scalia.
One of the most important judgments for the men and women of South Carolina to make is who on this stage has the background, the principle, the character, the judgment, and the strength of resolve to nominate and confirm principled constitutionalists to the court. That will be what I will do if I'm elected president.
Setting the stage for a rocky few months in Washington, with the future of the Supreme Court and the White House in the balance.
That was Ryan Nobles reporting. In his first term, President Obama nominated both Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan to the Supreme Court, both of whom were approved and elected to the Supreme Court. Leading analysts say current Attorney General Loretta Lynch is the most likely candidate to fill that remaining spot, but still no word on an official nomination. John Pesavento received the ultimate gift this past Valentine's Day. After being diagnosed with stage end heart failure following complications of a heart attack, he finally received the donor heart he'd been waiting on for the last year. As soon as the Yale New Haven Hospital was informed of the available heart Sunday morning, they began prepping for a 6-hour transplant surgery that took place that evening. The hospital encourages others to consider the gift of life when possible. So, with the end of football season, I was just wondering who always has my blind side when it comes to sports, and I always think of Scott Roberts Jr. as sports.
You got it, Chris. Happy Friday, Hawks fans. Welcome to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Roberts. Coming up, the men desperately need a win to avoid dropping into last place in the AE standings. Highlights from last night's contest against UMBC coming up. Plus, could the women pull off a win on the road against the Lady Retrievers? You know, Alex Young says he's the best 5 minutes of your day. We'll see about that. Strap in, Hawk Nation, and get ready for STN Channel 2 Sports next.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy. Oh, and she even talks to it. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
A runner on first base. Now the big guy comes up to bat, hitting .342 with 92 RBIs and 36 homers. First pitch is fouled between
back. Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
And now, your Channel 2 Sports.
Thank you, Marshall Ross, and welcome back. Now, the Hartford men have been slumping as of late, and when I say slumping, hoo boy, do I mean it. Last time the men won was almost a month ago at UMBC. Since then, they've lost once to every single other team in the America East. Ouch. The Retrievers visited the Chase Wednesday to get some revenge. How did it turn out? To the highlights we go. All right, no handshakes, no huddles, right off the tip. Hartford wins, and we're going to send it over to Jason Dunn, to Jalen Ross, and Jalen for 3. Boom! Nothing but twine. 7 seconds in, up by 3. All Hawks in this one. 11 to go now, up by 4. Deflection there. Pancake goes up to grab it. Shot clock's winding down. Cooper with a desperation shot from downtown. It's good. 17-10 to Hartford. 2.5 in the half. Jalen over to Pancake. And to quote the Weather Girls, it's raining threes. Hallelujah, it's raining threes. 31-25 in favor of the good guys. And hey, why not? One more. George Blagojevich in the waning seconds of the half. He buries it. Hawks up 6 at the break.
Second verse, same as the first. You're welcome, Joe Shank. Pancake drives to the basket for the layup. Hawks up 12. Or, wait, there's more. Zoink! He takes that one, Evan Cooper, to the basket. Hawks up 14. Not 2.5 to go. Pancake with a man on him. He's not budging. Kid, you don't want to mess with the breakfast man. With a hand in his face, he nails it. Put a stick in this one, folks. This one is done. Hawks notch one in the win column for the first time since January 21st. Final score, 88-65. Much needed win for the Hawks, keeping them out of the hole in the AE standings. 4 Hawks in double figures in this game. George Blagojevich led the team with 23 points, Pancake with 20. Hartford was on fire from behind the arc, shooting 60% from three-point range. For the Retrievers, Will Darley and Jordan Grant tied for the team lead with 15 points. The Hawks are now tied with Binghamton for 7th place at 3-10. Next up is the Wildcats of UNH this weekend. More on that coming up. From the men to the women now, the ladies are hot off an OT thriller at home against the Catamounts. They were in Maryland Wednesday to face the Retrievers, looking to get out to their longest winning streak all season. And a tough go for the Hawks as they just couldn't get past the Retrievers. Final score in this one, 58-51. Darby Lee continues to show her leadership on the court, scoring 15 points and pulling down 2. And Kelly Douglas making a name for herself this year. The freshman from Clifton, New Jersey, scored 11 points and nabbed 3 boards. For the Lady Retrievers, Taylor McCarley led the team with 19 points, continuing to lead her team as the top scorer all year. Pandora Wilson couldn't reach into that box and get one more rebound from a double-double. UMBC now moves into a tie with Hartford for 4th, both teams 7-6. Hartford faces New Hampshire in Durham on Saturday at 1. Hey, you smell that? It smells like spring. It's hard to believe, I know, with these freezing temperatures, but this week, pitchers and catchers reported to spring training for the major leagues, which means AE baseball is slowly approaching. The America East released their preseason picks. Let's see where they place the Hawks for this upcoming season. And a pretty good showing for the Hawks, ranking 3rd in the preseason poll. Hartford was only 2 games under 500 last season, and they made the AE tournament again last year. First time they've made it in back-to-back years since '93. Reigning champion Stony Brook holds the top spot again this year. Seawolves have won 4 of the last 5 regular season titles. UMBC is ranked 2nd, coming off their most successful season in the America East at 34-20. Behind Hartford in 4th is Maine, followed by Binghamton, Albany, and the Riverhawks in the bottom spot. The Hawks step up to the plate next Friday in much warmer temps down in sunny North Florida. And now, folks, time for a new segment here on the Sports Desk. We've scoured the sports world for some of the top moments that have us talking this week. It's time to check them out. It's time for Quick Hits. All right, a little bit of rock and roll part 2. First up, Aaron Gordon, NBA All-Star Dunk Contest. I'm sorry, how does that not win, folks? Up and over, Snuff the Magic Dragon, yes, that's his name, under the legs, windmill, in the basket. Tough one there. Viewer discretion of this next one. Watch this play in Wisconsin. High school basketball player stops abruptly on the court. Turns out the court stabbed her stomach. Ouch. Don't want to be seeing that in high school basketball. To the ice now, slashing penalty down the corner on Flyers, Andrew McDonald. Watch Devils, Joseph Blendisi. It looks like more of like a fish out of water to me. Blendisi, go sit in the box for 2. You, sir, are a flopper. Hey, did you lose your fantasy football league like me? Well, at least you didn't end up like this guy. NC State student Mike Fuller lost his league, had to spend 30 hours living in a Waffle House. I could think of worse, but that's actually kind of funny. All right, out with the Rockets, in with the Bees. The New Britain Bees are the newest team to the Atlantic League. They released their Under Armour unis for this season. I like that yellow one, Hardware City. Not bad.
You're gonna die, clown!
Oh yes, those famous words. Happy Gilmore celebrated its 20th anniversary this week. The hockey movie that had, well, nothing to do with hockey, starring Adam Sandler and a cast of characters, had all its quotables, most of which we can't say on TV. Thank you, FCC. Along with the wind-up golf swing, doing the bowl dance, and yes, right there, Adam Sandler getting his you-know-what handed to him by the Silver Fox himself, Bob Barker. The price is wrong, Happy. Those are your quick hits. All right, now it's a big, big, big weekend for us here on STN Channel 2. So join Sports Director Alex Young and Brianna Briggs this Saturday live on STN Channel 2 for Hartford Hawks basketball action. The men take on the University of New Hampshire at 7 p.m. Pre-game starts at 6:50. Be sure to rescan those TVs if you live on campus and watch us live on STN Channel 2.1. and online at stn2.tv. And that, gentlemen, is sports.
I'm pretty excited about sports
Absolutely.
production. How
It's going to be
about
a
you
great, great game. I know for a fact that hopefully the men can come out to a win against UNH. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm Chris DeGray.
I'm Jabari Walker.
Thanks for watching.